Hi, I'm Ida Turbot with Keller Williams. I'd like to introduce you to Tim McNamara from McNamara Appraisals. He is absolutely one of the greatest appraisers in all of the Carolinas, and I would like to ask him a few questions, but I'm going to start off by saying thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I've been using you now for over 15 years. Every home that I list, which is an average of 20 homes per month, I have them measured. And I would like you to tell the people why it's important to have a home measured before you put it on multiple listing.
Well, it's so important to have the house measured because you want to make sure that the square footage listed in the MLS is accurate. Oftentimes, when a home isn't measured correctly, it can lead to a lot of troubles down the road, especially just before closing.
Tim, we've known each other for over 15 years, and you actually measure every home, as you know. But I think the most important thing that makes me appreciate you so much is that with the values changing on a monthly basis, I use you to help me quite often where I look at values and I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm not really sure what this should be, and I turn to you. What actually and how do you come to a price when we have a declining market and we're trying to adjust on a monthly basis?
Well, one of the things that I try to do, and what most appraisers will do, is to incorporate active, competing listings and also pending sales. Pending sales show us exactly what has been absorbed by the marketplace and at what price it was listed at to determine that. Also, we'll take in consideration a list to sale price ratio, which could be found in the MLS by using the ratio between what the home was listed for and what it closed at. And then oftentimes with bank appraisals, they require that comparable sales, ones that have sold in your neighborhood, be utilized, focusing on the ones that closed within the last 90 days to assure that the most recent activity is being used for that appraisal.
Now, I have a good question because this happens every week. I'll have sellers say to me, my home is worth more and I'm not in a desperate situation. Other homes in our area, they had to do a short sale or they actually went into foreclosure. That doesn't affect my value. Does that affect your value? And when you are appraising homes, do you use the short sale and the REO properties as a value?
It's a great question, and it comes up often when doing an appraisal. It's a case-by-case basis. If we're doing an appraisal in a neighborhood that has predominantly short sales and foreclosure properties, that's dictating the direction of the neighborhood and the values and has to be really looked at closely. If it's a short sale, one among 10 other sales in the neighborhood, that oftentimes can be overlooked and more focus can be put on the market sales that are recent and shows a equally motivated seller and buyer.
I know that in using you, I ask your opinion a lot more than I used to, because it used to be just very cut and dry. You would look at the comps, you would see what the values were, and that's what it was. Now, quite often, I'm turning to you to say, I know on paper what this value should be, but nothing has sold in this neighborhood. Just yesterday, I'm talking to a seller where there are 10 actives. Nothing has closed in a year. And this is the type of thing that I turn to you to say, what do I list it for? I don't want to be number 11 and stay there forever. So this is how I use you so often. And in doing that, how do you come up with a price if there's 10 actives, nothing's closed in a year? As agents looking at this, as well as consumers, coming up with the right price, what would you recommend?
Well, I wish we all had a crystal ball when it came to selling houses, but the active listings are an excellent asset test to what you can expect when you put your house on the market. Because if you have 9 other houses listed and they've been listed and reduced in price over time, and they're equally exposed to the market for 180 days, I consider that to an asset test for what a home getting ready to go on the market, what they can experience. What I would recommend is doing a historical sale trend for the neighborhood to find out how many homes have sold in the last 3 years. If there's
3 years, okay, that's good to know.
If there's an average of 2 home sales per year, that tells me that in all likelihood, going forward, there might be only 2 houses that sell this year. And if you have 10 competing properties, your home better be very special to attract the buyer to purchase yours over the others. That could be a more desirable site, better condition, a renovated kitchen, a better backyard, or a more attractive price compared to the other ones that are shown in the neighborhood.
I've always said price is the number one factor. The second is condition. Don't you agree?
I totally agree.
Tim, a question I have that comes up over and over again that I would love for you to give your opinion and answer is that when I go to list a home, a seller will say, Ida, I just put a pool in, or I just replaced the carpet, or I just did extreme beautiful landscaping in the back, and I've spent $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. And they look at it as a math problem where they feel that dollar for dollar they should get that back. Can you give your opinion as what a seller should expect?
Well, that's a great question. Again, oftentimes when we're doing refinance appraisals, it comes up that a homeowner just adds a detached garage or a new swimming pool, and they have some expectations that the market, the next buyer, is going to pay dollar for dollar for this improvement. It's not always the case, and the reason why is that a swimming pool or an additional two-car garage is considered over-improved, and that is that the cost of that improvement exceeds the return on the market. It's something that you'll hear appraisers say is over-improved. If the feature is very common in the neighborhood, then you're probably going to get a better return on value for that improvement.
So, percentage-wise, when an agent goes out and lists a property, what would be a margin or a number that you think would be safe to say if someone goes and spends $50,000 on a combination of adding a screened-in porch, a deck, and some landscaping, what do you feel would be a fair market value for that return?
Well, it's always case by case, but to kind of give you some examples is that if screen porches are going to be more common in the marketplace than, say, a additional three-car garage or a high-end swimming pool, what I tell homeowners is this: how does the improvement conform to the existing structure? I've seen some houses that are $500,000 and they have a $5,000 screen porch. And
it doesn't go with it.
It doesn't conform to the existing structure. And then I also see some homes that are $250,000 that have a $65,000 screen porch. And there's just an inconsistency with the quality, the size of that improvement to the overall price point of the existing house. So keeping that in mind, screen porches, patios, decks, and outside entertainment areas are going to definitely have a good return on value.
Like percentage-wise, 50%?
You might have some cases where it may return 100%.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But there's that checklist that you want to do. How does it conform? How does the quality look in the appearance of the room? I see some screen porches that are built 10 by 10, but you can't even put a dining table out there.
Yeah, so, this is a small table.
Exactly. A table for two. A swimming pool, I often get this question because we're seeing a lot more swimming pools these days, is at times, how does the pool conform to the backyard of the property? I've seen some pools take up the whole backyard, and then there isn't any room for kids to play.
Right.
So there's always additional liability with pools, maintenance, and sometimes there's pools inside the neighborhood that they can join during the season, but then not have the maintenance during the off-season. So those type of pools may only have 25 to 30% return on value. But what I tell homeowners up front when they put this in is that they're going to get some personal opportunity costs out of this. They're going to get some enjoyment over the next 5 or 10 years. So don't think so much about what am I going to get out of it when I sell it. Just make sure you don't do anything to your house that would negatively impact the value and market appeal.
Question that we have, I'll go list a home. They had no plans of moving. 2 years ago, they just spent $35,000 on their kitchen, new cherry cabinets, granite countertops, and new appliances. I want all that money back. Is that a reasonable expectation?
What I suggest is taking a look to see if there's any other comparable sales that have a like feature or amenity. That way, when it does sell and the appraisal is completed, if there's another comp that has a like feature, like a pool or whatever, they can use that comp to show market acceptance to the bank. Lenders today require on any special features or straight line adjustments in our appraisal for features over, say, 10 or 15% of the sales price, they require at least one or two comparable sales to show market acceptance. A pool's a great example because it comes up most often, and the lenders really want to see another comp that's closed that has a pool that doesn't have a positive adjustment for that feature.
Well, I know that when I'm marketing a home and I'm listing it, and the neighborhood was built in the 90s, because as you know, the homes built in the 90s typically were solid surface countertops, and their home has been updated with an updated kitchen, I know that it brings value. But from your helping me and me understanding better, I'll say to them, and tell me if I'm correct, is that your home will shine, your home will stand out, because the others that they'll be looking at in that age group won't have that. Is that true?
Absolutely. You want your house to stand out among the competition. In a market like today, where we have more sellers than buyers, you want to do whatever you can to your house to make it more attractive with regards to market appeal. Certainly, buyers are looking right at the kitchen. How does this kitchen compare to what I'm looking at new construction? So, not having the Formica but having the granite,
Yes.
It gives it more a modern feel. Painting in today's colors,
Yes.
is more important, not having the hospital whites that you see in a lot of houses. Changing out the carpet. These type of changes can certainly make your house stand out among the other active listings, and you will get a great return on value, either on price or on days on market.
Getting it sold.
And that way you don't have to readjust the price in the future.
Yes. Tim, when I go to list a home, and let's say it's 3,000 square feet, how do I come up with a number that would reflect the average price per square foot, where it's going to be competition to the neighborhood, but also show that it's a good value, because that's what buyers want? How do you come up with a price per square foot?
Well, we look at price per square foot in a number of different ways. But when you pull up comparable sales in your neighborhood, you'll see that there's probably an average and a median sales price for that neighborhood. It's important that you list your house attractively when it's compared to these other comps and active listings. One of the misnomers out there from a homeowner standpoint is that they look at the average price per square foot in their neighborhood, and they use that to multiply against their square footage.
And they always think their square footage should be more.
Well, square footage distribution is very important.
Yes.
The other day I had a homeowner who had a 2.5-story house, and some of its square footage was located on the 3rd floor.
Very good point.
And the one thing that had to be mentioned to the homeowner is that this extra 500 square feet already had an existing floor. You built in the attic. It had the roof line already there. And their hopes were that that finished square footage would add $100 per square foot. What a lot of homeowners don't realize is that when a house sells for $100 a square foot in the neighborhood, it could be $85 or it could be $200 a square foot, is that that's the square footage divided into total purchase price.
Right.
So if you're adding additional square footage in the 3rd floor,
Or would that mean the basement as well?
or in the basement or off the back, is that you don't get any additional land, garages, kitchens, bathrooms, landscaping. And when you would finish off that square footage, you don't get any more of those large contributions to values or what was built into that sales price in the beginning. So finishing off 500 square feet in the 3rd floor is a much lower return on value than the average per square foot sales price in the neighborhood.
And when I go to list a property, quite often I'll use you where I'm explaining that to a seller, and just being able to say, I'm going to have Tim McNamara talk to you to explain. I can say the same thing, but because you are a certified appraiser, they have a tendency to listen to you a little bit better. So I thank you for all the years of being able to help me convince a seller to price a home correctly.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.